Hey guys, you're back with another one of Arbiter's Garrysmod tutorials. I'm trying out a new map today. It's GM_Glatfras if you want to give it a try. Today we're going to be looking at the kind of teleporter vehicle that we've done before. Now, since I've only got 15 minutes, I have cut out a major part of this, which is actually building the vehicle. But you should already know how to do this. Basically, it's got a up and down function. It's got up and down functions, and obviously forward and back, and left and right. It's just a regular vehicle. Now, what I've got instead of regular thrusters is I've got a gear system set up here, so that if I hold W, it goes into gear 1, and then the speed goes up, and then if I go into gear 2, it gets faster and faster, and that's all it does. It's nothing that fancy, and you don't really even need to know about it, and I might do it in another tutorial, but it's nothing great. So what we're going to do is I'm going to build a teleporting vehicle here, but it's going to have a few extra features than the one I've covered in a tutorial before, and as I've said, I'm having to start from where this is. So I'm going to be covering pretty much what I did in tutorial 10 and then adding a bit on. So I might run over, I might not, but we'll see how we go. So the first thing you want to do is you want to spawn an entity hover drive controller. And the hover drive controller is what's going to teleport us, as we know. So I'm just going to spin this round and then easy weld it on to the ship here, right? And then I'm going to spawn a GPS on the front of this hover drive controller, and that's just going to let us know what height the ship is currently at, just so that when we do teleport we don't go off anywhere crazy. So now that we've got this set up, we're going to need to work on the underneath of the ship, so I'm just going to raise it up a bit here. Step out of the seat. Right, now we're going to need two GPSs, one on the very front and one on the back. And that's just make the front one straight. Right, yeah. Now, we're going to need two sets of gates to do math. One for the x values and one for the y values. So we're going to just copy everything on the left that we do on the right, if that makes sense to you. So the first thing we need is a subtract gate, and subtract is there. So we can stick a subtract on the front and on the left and on the right. And then we need a multiply gate. So we stick a multiply on the left and a multiply on the right. And then finally we need one add gate. So there we go. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to explain what's happening to the coordinates as we go, but I'm just going to name X and Y just so I know which way. So that side is Y, and that side is going to be the X coordinates. So what's happening is we're taking in the X axis from the front and respectively the Y axis from the front, the Y coordinates, and we are subtracting them from the back. So on this side it's subtract output X, and on this side it's subtract output Y. Subtract output Y. Okay, and now we have what is essentially, well, the distance between the two GPSs in respect to each axis. So as you can see there, it's quite a big number, and there it's, well, next to nothing. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply these numbers so that they're bigger. So that means that when the ship jumps, it is relative to each axis left and right, obviously because we're going to be teleporting up, we've got hoverballs for that. So we're going to take in these values and multiply them by something that we haven't put in yet. And then all we need to do is add these new values and then add them onto the original position of the ship, so that everything is relative to everything else. Now what we're going to do to multiply these values is we're going to have an accumulator gate, and obviously the accumulator gate needs to go up and down, so I'm going to be putting an add and a negate in to feed in from the pod controller. Time accumulator, and then a arithmetic round. Right, and that just means that all the information is going to be properly processed. So B times by round, and then B times by the round gate. And the round gate is the accumulator is the add, and the add is the plus And what I'm going to be using to jump the ship for the coordinates up is I'm going to be using this space, and to go down I'm going to be using the Alt buttons. Alt, right, and also to jump the ship I'm going to be using the Shift function. Okay, and now all I need to do is wire this front screen that says jump, and that's just so I know what distance I'm jumping. I'm going to wire this to the round gate. Okay, so now we're going to wire up the X, Y and Z coordinates. So X goes to the X add gate, Y goes to the Y add gate, and Z goes to the output Z. And we've already got it set to jump on shift, so if I just demonstrate this here, everything's unfrozen. The jump value is currently set to 10, and I can edit that by pressing space. It goes up, or I can press Alt and it goes down. And then if I press Shift, I teleport forwards by, well, what my current position was multiplied by 10. So that's illustrating the jump function. Now that's fair. That's all well and good, and that's fairly nice feature, whatever. But I don't really want that. I want something else. I want, say you're on a space build server and this is your ship. What happens if you get out and then you die? You know, worst case scenario. Well, worst case, I'll say. This ship is now on another planet. You have to get there again, and you can't get it back because the only way you can control it is with the pod controller, which is in this seat. So you're buggered, really. So what we're going to do is we're going to not have the coordinates feed in from those X and Y things down there. We're going to have a choice, and we're going to choose whether or not the coordinates of the teleport get fed in from the ship or from a laser pointer. So I'm going to stick a laser pointer just here. Now what we need to do is we need to get it set up so that the hover drive can choose between whichever coordinates that you want to use. Now we obviously know that laser pointers output GPS as well as pod controllers, as is the ship, sorry. Now all we need to do is make up a mechanism to choose between them, and I'm going to be using something I covered in my last tutorial, which is vectors. Now the vector, we're going to compose two different vectors, one from the laser pointer and one from the ship itself, and then all we're going to do is choose between them when the ship needs to be chose between. So we're going to compose the first vector. It's going to be composed of the X, which is this X add gate, the Y, which is the Y add gate. Sorry if I'm really not explaining this. Hopefully you can just follow the steps and you'll make sense of it yourself. And then the Z is obviously the one on the GPS. Okay, so we're going to wire up the second compose gate, and the X is going to be wired to the X, obviously, and the Y is going to be wired to the Y. But the Z, obviously, the Z would be the position of the laser on the floor, and that's too low, so we're going to put in a simple add gate here, just to up the height a bit. Add gate. And I'm going to put in a constant value of 20 and 1. Now, you'll understand the 1 in a minute, but just make sure you put in 20 and 1. I mean, you can always update later, but so 20 and 1. So I'm going to stick that there. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the add gate is Z plus B, which is 20, and that is the Z component. Okay, so now we've got two vectors that are X, Y, and Z for that to read. All we need to do now is make sure that there's some kind of system to make a choice between them. So we're going to be using the gate vector select, and we're just going to stick that right next to the hover drive controller. And we're going to say that choice 1 is that the laser pointer composer, and we're going to make sure that choice B is the ship composer. And then all we have to do is say that the jump target vector is the select choice. There we go. Now we need something to make the choice. No, we won't do that first. What we need first is something to make the ship jump. Now obviously we just say shift when we're in the seat, but what if we're not in the seat? We need something that works as well when we sit in, when we're using a laser pointer. So we're going to use a regular select choice gate. Then we're going to stick that there, and that means that we need some kind of system to in place so that whenever nobody's sitting in the seat, that it knows and it's freed from the laser pointer. Now we need a way for the laser pointer to fire to be able to jump the ship as well. So we're just going to be using the old time delay thing. Oh, don't sit in the seat. So we're going to be using simple time delay. I'm going to stick that there, and then I'm going to put in comparison equals, and that's to balance the system out when it's not in use. Comparison greater than gate, so that we know when the delay is running. And then we need to add in 2 extra values to the constant value, one of 2 and the other of 1.5. And this is just so the ship jumps after 1.5 seconds and stops running the delay after so many, you understand. So the CLK of the gate is the active component, and then when the time elapsed is greater than 1.5, the output 1, and that's choice A on the select gate, and the delay is 2 seconds. Right, and then we're going to just say reset when the delay gate when active equals 0, and that just means that there won't be any undue whatever. So now all we need is a system to let the both select choice gates know when the seat is in use and when it's not. So all we're going to do for this is we're going to have a simple add gate, and we're going get out of the seat. We're going to have a simple add gate, and it's going to feed in the constant value of 1 that we had earlier, and the active component of the hover drive controller, which means that whenever no one's sitting in the seat, the choice is 1, and whenever somebody is, the choice is 2, which separates the 2 functions. So add A as active. Careful you don't scroll past it because there's a lot of stuff to go through. There we go. And select choice B and add is 1. Right. Now what we need to do is wire up choice to that, and that choice to the add gate as well. So now all we need to do is wire up the shift as the jumping button for when you're in the seat, and it's set up otherwise, and that one's set up otherwise as well, which means that now if I were to sit in the seat and jump the ship again, you can see that it works and that jumps. But also when I get out and link up my laser pointer, if I can find it, there it is, laser pointer, and go up to the top of the ship and link that up to there, that if wherever I point, 1, 2, 3, the ship jumps to where I'm looking at. And that means that even if I lose the ship, even if I'm on the complete other side of the map, I can just look with my laser pointer, and there we go. And even if you die, and you haven't got your laser pointer anymore, if you spawn a new one, it links automatically, and then you can just bring your ship to yourself. And I've realised I haven't really been I haven't really explained this very well. If you can follow the steps, brilliant. I'm sure you'll understand it yourself if you've got any know-how. But other than that, I'm sorry. But hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you like this little ship, and I'll see you next time.